Hey, Drake Nurse. Turns out my microphone wasn't on. Yeah, well. How's your day going? That's good. So, how does the audio sound? I finally figured learned how to do the audio filters, so hopefully there's no constant AC buzzing. Thank you. You, are you being a good millennial and consuming your three forms of media? And, now that I've figured out filters, the only thing to do is to get a new couch so it doesn't squeak all the time. I wonder if Lynn is at the park yet. Until we get her report, I guess I'll just have to wait here. This continued distress of the ministers. Is there really something more to it, like the inspector in White said? Measurements of my video? I don't really know, because I can... Let's see, wait. Because I can just... do this. You know it. I think it needs, what it really needs is more about shape than rather size. I don't know how to get chat on screen. How to put the first Google search was how suggested one was how to put in a tampon. Not quite what I was thinking. Google chat. With that. have no idea why that would be her suggested thing for Google. There's a video that looks like it might have the idea, so just gonna mute my mic while I watch it. You know what? I don't want to have to try to figure out this chat box thing some other time. It's just so Google is the yeet of the internet is very fun. Till I figure out the chat stuff, let's play a video game. Hello, Justice Minister. How about you finally admit that you... But thank you, Express. That was meant for you. You're a ghost, aren't you? You have the power to control and manipulate people, don't you? No, I don't have that kind of power. I can't control you. We've actually known, you know, quite a while now. I had no idea there were powers of the dead, of ghosts. Known? Known about what? You knew about the existence of someone who could control others, a manipulator. What's this? That's why your execution order caused me so much anguish, Detective Zhao. Mr. Minister, why don't you tell us everything you know? Yes, I suppose I should. You need to hear it all. All about the huge mistake this foolish man made. There are some cases in this country right now that are under a top secret investigation. Of course, you wouldn't have known about Detective Zhao. Alright. Voices? Alright. No? Alright. They don't share too much top secret information with the inmates in prison. There are 3 prisoners, including you, in the special prison you just escaped from. All cases have certain points of encounter. They do? Do they? Tell us more. The rock singer who leaked national secrets in his lyrics during a TV broadcast. The sausage head. The curry-loving fellow who took the chief commissioner hostage at the Metro Police Department. Neither of these men had a motive for their crime, and both of their crimes were impossible. But you band director did what now? Why would they do such a thing? That's a story you'll have to share with us. I mean, me. Well, band directors, that's why it was. Too dedicated to that rock and roll lifestyle. Furry Lover had no way of knowing how to infiltrate the commissioner's office, and the rock singer had no way of knowing the national secret scene. Special Investigation Unit submitted an investigative report to me on them. They concluded that these men's criminal acts were not of their own volition. How could that be? The theory the unit came up with was the existence of a manipulator. Manipulator, huh? That's when the special prison was established as a facility to research that theory. Some unknown power has been at work. These past several years, Inspector Cabanela has been studying these cases. He has, Patsy, manipulating somebody into committing a criminal act, according to the inspector. The first case of its kind was a locked-room murder involving our nation's best detective. Are you trying to say I was manipulated somehow into shooting Alma? I appreciate the theory, but unfortunately, I don't recall being controlled by anybody. It's just not possible to manipulate another's behavior like that. My powers certainly don't work on living creatures. That's what I thought when I first heard the theory, too. However, I was seriously mistaken, and proved to be a big mistake. What? Abilities. You mentioned a mistake. Could you tell us about it? I suppose everybody here has the right to know. Alright. I'll speak out so loud so that Inspector Cabanela can hear this too. There's something I'd like the two of you to hear. It's about a mistake I made. Inspector Cabanela, when you first made that report about a manipulator, I'm afraid I didn't believe it at all. Impossible, I thought. Perfectly understandable, Mr. Minister. But I was wrong. That kind of power does exist. And I learned the truth of that firsthand. What's this? A month ago, I signed the order to carry out Detective Jowd's execution. However, that act wasn't of my own volition. I was being controlled. What? You never told me about this, Mr. Minister. Let's go. No, I decided. Wait, don't deliver that document. That's when it started. That's when all my fear and suffering began. At the time, it didn't even cross my mind that I had been manipulated. My memory of the event was only hazy at best. So the memory of being manipulated doesn't clearly remain, eh? Signing execution orders is part of a justice minister's job at the time. She thought my psyche was rebelling against the task. the next day it dawned on me. I remembered Inspector Cabanella's report on the existence of a manipulator. As a minister of justice, I couldn't admit what had happened to me. I only signed the execution order because I was being controlled. If something like that got out, this nation's judicial system would crumble. Besides, I had no evidence to present that I had actually been controlled. So in the end, I couldn't admit to everybody what happened. I suppose. But it sounds like a bit of like an excuse. You should have at least told us, Mr. Minister. Yes. Old man Simba. Yes. Yes, I know. I should have. I was running away from the problem. And then my wife found out I was worried about something. Well, if you go around with an expression like that, I guess it's bound to happen. I explained it to her, and she was dead set against the way I was handling it. If you don't withdraw that order and tell everyone the truth immediately, I'm moving out. And then with the kidnapping tonight, with a thrust under my nose like that, I could no longer deny my mistake. This manipulator comes upon us from somewhere unseen. That's why I've been keeping my distance from everybody. So that's why you've been telling people to stay back. So there's somebody else besides me with the powers of the dead. I'm fine with that. After all, I already knew about a certain desk. What I'm not fine with is the fact that a person can control and manipulate living creatures. It's certainly not something I can do. Apparently different ghosts get different ghost tricks. I never imagined that tonight I'd find out where this kind of power comes from. Where it comes from? Inspector Cabanella. This manipulator is a ghost, departed spirit. A spirit? A spirit? As a matter of fact, there's a ghost talking to us right now. What? What did you say? Jowd, don't tell me you can hear this ghost too. I'd say the only person who can't hear him is you. Spirit. Spooky, baby. Spirit. Ghost. Gods in heaven. Excuse me, Mr. Minister. I suddenly have some urgent business to attend to. I recommend you think long and hard before making your final decision, sir. Inspector. This is Lynn. I'm at the park. We've been waiting to hear from you. Have you found the evidence? Well, the situation here is, it's kind of difficult to explain. Cecil, if you're there, come to the park immediately. Looks like your help is needed, Sissel. Sissel. Yeah, I guess so, huh? To the park. After dark. To the park after dark, and we're gonna find what's up. Then calls and I obliged. Take off towards Thamesick Park, a place where clearly something big is taking place. The manipulator and the person whose very existence sets new light on everything. Detective Jowd's crime, the execution orders, and even my own death. Could it be that Lynn have been manipulated into shooting me? I'm going to say yes. Because she doesn't have any memory of doing it. She was shaking like the way the Prime Minister was shaking when he was manipulated. So yeah, I'd say so. That's my guess. Thamesick Park, the site of the little lady Camilla's abduction tonight, the place where an important piece of evidence, the music box, was hidden. I wonder why our lady detective is looking so dejected. At least she isn't dead. What did she find? Hmm? Huh? What's he doing here? La la la, let me sing a moment's time with you. The world will not end if the food delivery is a little late. La la la. A little late, it's already ice cold. There you go. And then there you go. Hmm. Phew, I got this thing spinning pretty fast. I didn't even put much effort into it. That's quite a bit of power and speed for a piece of playground equipment. I can just imagine the poor kids who got sent flying all over the park. Could I become Boot? wait a second. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. La la la, said, noticing this in chat. Oh, there you are, sister. When you dejected expression, I gather you didn't find what you were looking for. Right, I can't find the music box anywhere. I found something else instead. Something horrible. Horrible. Oh, what is it? There in the grass. You better see for yourself. Looks like a dead body. I nearly died when I saw it. Suppose now... There you go. And suppose now that we found it, we can't just leave it there, can we? Nope. Nope. I suppose not. Welcome to Shala Tries to Do Voices, but whatever. Stop the park from being turned into a housing site. At the parks, the rock of the gods. You there. Talking to me, aren't you? I have some leaflets for you. Leaflets I know you'll be very interested in. I urge you to peruse it thoroughly. Examine it in detail. Never mind that right now. Do you remember your name? My name? My name? What does my name matter when there are things more important? There are more important things to worry about. Okay. Come now, study these tracks with me, my brother. Come and learn about the Rock of the Gods with me. The night is no longer young. As a matter of fact, daybreak is approaching, but we are young. Look, I don't have time to get involved in your way of life. I am interested in your way of death. As you know, your lifestyle determines your death style. I'm gonna try something a little bubbly. Have a little burps to calm my tum-tum. Let's go back to 4 minutes before you're dead. So I made up my mind. I resolved to live here in this park and defend it. Okay, and what does this have to do with this Rock of the Gods you mentioned? Still don't appear to understand. Written quite clearly here in the 4th leaflet in great detail. Excuse me, but I have to use the restroom. So do I. Be right back. Gingered ale has been acquired. Oh, coming! Coming! I'll be right there. I've located the target, Beauty. Beauty? As a girl of the right age coming right out of the right apartment building at the right time. Yes, my dear. I'll ever so gently nab her and come right back to your side. Good evening, young lady. Won't you come with me? Eek! Jazz, what do I do? What should I do? I have to do something. What? Oh. What in the world just happened? What in the world? What just happened? Oh, that's Mino. Mino? Mino the mascot. Symbol of Hempstead Park. Forget about the name of that big, creepy lump of concrete. I'm talking about the way it changed direction. Did you see that? Yes, I did. We witnessed it with our own eyes. Power of the Rock of the Gods. That was the power of the gods. The power of the gods saved that little girl. And then that same power very deliberately crushed you instead? Yes, precisely. That is called the mischief of the gods. Was it the mischief of the gods, or was it a ghost trick? But nah, it couldn't have been a ghost trick. No ghost trick could change the direction of something that heavy in midair. Wait a minute. What if there was somebody with much greater powers than me? And some serious trouble. Trouble. Look at that. There's another flame besides mine. So that is the flame of a god, is it? But hold on. Your spirit is a flame too, isn't it? Yeah, so. Pardon me, but are you a god? I sincerely doubt it. But at the last minute, that big lump of concrete made a huge swing to one side. That's probably what flames do. Could it be? I definitely believe it's either a god or somebody god related. Maybe I'd better try to talk to this person. What the? This person with much greater powers than me. It's you? Hey! Yeah. Hey, Sissel! Oh my, it's Missile! You look well for being dead. Did you see? Did you see what I did? I did it. I tried really hard and I did it. I saved Miss Camilla! Are you telling me I was done in by a puppy dog? Missile, what's going on? How did you get the powers of the dead? I'm glad you asked. After Miss Camilla went out and you left. Did you... He caved his own skull in it. I worked like crazy to make my own path, and I did it. And then I followed Miss Camilla out into the big wide world. And then, here at this park, I found her at last. Yes, you guessed it, I barked. You bet I did. And went running after her too. And then I guess I died. And I was unconscious for a little while. When I came to, it was all over. Poor Miss Camilla. Crushed under that big scary lump. Oh, no, 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 what have I done? I'm so sorry, little lady. Please forgive me. Miss Camilla! I had to rescue Miss Camilla. It was up to me. I cried out from the depths of my heart, and then... I can't tell you how surprised I was, but I bet you understand, right? Better than probably anybody else could. And I remembered what you did for me, how you saved me. So, we're back, right? Back to 4 minutes before the little lady's death. You bet I did! The proper... Presumably this might be some kind of purity of our heart, in which case, what could be stronger in purity of heart than a dog? The greatest pupper of them all, Missile. Yes, my dear, and I'll ever so gently nab her and come right back to your side. Now's my chance, I thought. I saw the core. I don't know, it looks pretty far. Stretched out my paw toward the core. Oh, how I felt at that moment. I'd love for you to be able to feel it too. Go ahead, Sissel. Go and try it for yourself. I can't believe it. How could you connect over such a great distance? Well, they don't call me Missile for nothing. So you manipulated that Mino thing and threw it aside. Right on top of my head. Well, no, actually. Huh? I can't manipulate things like you can, Sissel. You can't? Then how did you? I don't know what to do. Then I happened to see something out of the corner of my eye. And it had a core too. Single leaf hanging from the tree. Tried reaching out to the leaf. But what in the world? I can't manipulate things. Apparently, I can swap them. As long as the two things have the same shape, that is. Swap things with the same shape? Go ahead and try it. Press swap. But that's incredible. So that's how you saved your mistress, is it? And that's how I became caught up in this, is it? I'm very sorry. My powers were too meager. Because, you see, I saw one more. I happened to notice one more core. It was something shaped in the exact same shape stuck in the branches of a tree. Hey, you're right. Mino could be swapped again with that. Then a disaster would have rained down on my head. What is that thing? It's too big to be a leaf. Whatever it is, I'd much prefer it on my head than Mino. So why didn't you swap them, Missile? I couldn't. I can stretch out my paw a little further than you can, Sissel. That's a lot further. But this was just too far for me. I couldn't reach. Squish. I must admit, it's a fascinating spectacle of a death, if I do say so myself. I kept retrying over and over to see if there was anything I could do. But there's something you can do now. Huh? We work together, you and me. Sissel, you think so? I don't plan on letting anybody die in front of me tonight. Do you think you could help me? Of course! Actually. Yeah, you're not going to be much help with that, hippie. So, we're going to drop that Mino thing in a different spot. Okay, let's try. Let's go back again to 4 minutes before. Oh wait, that's it started. 4 minutes from now, you'll swap Mino with the leaf. And then you have to swap Mino with something else. Something with the same shape. Oh, I believe that's a rugby ball. Okay, rugby ball, huh? But with the rugby ball where it is now, Missile can't reach it. So that means I have to move it closer somehow. Looks like you and I will have to work together on that one, Missile. Okay, I'm ready. Whenever you want to use my swap trick, just press ZR. That way you'll be able to control me. And then if you press ZR, control will come back to me. Okay, let's try it. Okay, together we can stop Mino from hurting anybody. Oh Right, Missile. Your powers are key this time. Okay, I'm ready. I can swap anything that has the same shape. Just call on me if you find anything you want to try. Probably the best thing to do is just try a bunch of things, see how it goes. If I see something we can swap, I should use ZR. Okay. Wait a second. Here comes that man. Here comes that man. Fast enough to scare even a quick little doggy like me. Or you all still in the tree. Ah, behold, the recklessness of youth. Yeah, it's that recklessness of yours that's causing us so much trouble. No one can stop the recklessness of youth. Well, if we can't stop it, I guess we're gonna have to find a way to make it work for us. But if he comes running too fast, we're not gonna have time to get ready. Looks like figuring out what to do with his recklessness is the key. Okay. Look at this funny flattened ball. It's the same shape as that horrible Mino, but it's too far to swap from here. Even this ball is starting to look horrible to me. Have to find a way to get this ball closer to that Mino thing. Knock it down from the tree, I say. Must be something we can do. Yep. Yep. Hey. Just swap the tire in the ball. Yeah. And maybe I'll knock it down. too heavy. Seesaw won't budge. Maybe because of that swap I made? Guess the little ball is about all the weight I can handle. Do you think of my lightning fast pace? I wish you would knock it off. That's what I think. We don't have time to prepare. I think we're gonna have to find a way to stop him. As far as I can see, the only way to do that is to use the playground equipment. What? You know, the seesaw, the swing, those things. Precisely. Except there's one more piece of equipment to be exact. Stop him with equipment, eh? Maybe I should rethink these things here. Sorry about all this trouble, Sizzle. If only my poor paw could reach a little further, I could have swapped that big lump one more time. Swapped it with the lovely tree and the ball in the tree nearby. That's alright. That's what we're going to do now together. I'm going to give it my best. Skip. First thing to do is find a path to that lovely ball. Heavy. Can't move it very much. Maybe because of the swap I made? Guess the little ball is all the way I can handle. Look at that. Sure a lot more round things around here. Oh boy. That means it's time for me, right? Oh boy. My hair is also round. Let's see. Back. What to do, what to do. That's no problem. Your apps can be pretty fickle. Here comes that man, fast enough to scare you and quick doggy looking. Yep. There. There we go. Have we done this? Yeah. Oh. Same shape as that horrible Mino, but it's too far to swap from here. damn it. So close. Here you come already. I swore to myself not to repeat my mistakes. If somebody's in trouble, you should lend them a hand. Otherwise, they'll definitely regret it. Now the recklessness of youth has taken over, giving me lightning fast speed. I've been thinking. If we could stop this man from running, maybe he wouldn't get squished. It won't be easy to stop me once the recklessness of youth has taken over. Man, I'm a hippie, man. Stop him, eh? Yep, there you go. Spin, you little idiot. No. There. Sure. Damn. Swapaloony. Oh, that was so close. If it hit the ball, it would have knocked it down. Is that all this umbrella can be used for? Knocking the rugby ball down? Don't forget about my powers. And don't forget about the recklessness of youth. Sissel? That's funny. Flying ball is still in the tree. Yeah, I know. And isn't there much more time? There isn't much more time. I have to find a way somehow. The umbrella won't close, will it? The ball must be in the way. Oh well. Okay. Figured. Yeah. It's kinda carefully. No? No? Not that one. There. There, we moved the ball. What do you think, Missile? With the ball there, I think I can do it. Just a few seconds. We'll swap Mino with the leaf. And from there, you can swap Mino one more time. Final moment is near, Missile. Are you ready? You bet! Sweet. Hey, watch me, Sissel. Here I go. Finishing touches. You can do it, Missile. Swap Mino with that ball. There, how's that? My head, it's been spared. Truly, that was a try worthy of the gods. And now Mino is right here where he belongs. We did it, didn't we? Didn't we? No, but now nobody has to die. Except for one brave little somebody. Huh? Talking about you, Missile. Oh, me? I guess you're right. I'm still dead, aren't I? So now let's go back and save your life. Wait a minute. What is it? Now that I think about it, I think I want to stay dead a little longer. What? Hello, Martha. Even when I was alive, I couldn't help Miss Camilla when she was in trouble. I want to be able to protect Miss Camilla. Did you do that? I need these powers I have now. I see. Perfectly understandable. Even I wish I had powers like that. Hey, we just saved you. Don't wish your life away already. Oh, of course, you're right. Hey, Missile, have it your way. By the way, Mr. Reckless Youth, it's a certain detective who needs that music box you found. When we get back to present time, could you give it to her? Certainly. You have my word. Let's go back then to the present. So, Camilla ended up in the hands of the kidnappers. We were unable to change that part. One listened to my story without saying anything. Sorry, I wish there was something else we could have done. No, you did the best you could. So she's right. Alright, after all. After all, she has me! Now I'm going to the toilet again. BRB. Before I have to go do something for dinner. I had this thought earlier, like, I haven't had diarrhea in a while. Well, change that counter back to 0. Anyway, TMI. Missile, are you in there? Miss Lynn, leave Miss Camilla to me. I know I don't look like much right now, but I'm sure I can help her. Missile. Eek. Miss Lynn! I'm going to leave it up to Missile. It kind of looks like Missile is being left up to the wind. Ooh, I have something to give you. Stop the park from being turned into a housing site. Protect the park. Protect the rock of the gods. Aren't you forgetting your promise? Oh, pardon me, pardon me. My apologies. This is for you. Oh. Oh. Kept the music box safe, didn't you? Thank you. Not at all. I was only doing what the rock of the gods would have wanted. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? He's mesmerized by beauty. Hey, the cat's not allowed to get your tongue. Let's say, yeah, mesmerized by her beauty. I'm mesmerized by your beauty too. Excuse me, but are you? No, it couldn't be. Have you met before? Aren't you? Aren't you that little girl from that time? I'll never forget it. It was 10 years ago in this park. 10 years ago? Are you talking about? Guess him? Here in this park, the gods surely control fate. 10 years from 10 years from that day, we met once again. That isn't the power of the gods, and what else is it? It could just be coincidence. It'd be very funny if this guy was the guy who held her at gunpoint. Wouldn't it? This weirdo who lives in a park. Apparently, you know a lady detective here. Could you tell us about it? What happened 10 years ago? Yes, of course. I was actually to do just that. What's with this rock of the gods you keep mentioning? Don't you know it? It's right there in front of us. Missile. Wait a minute, you say DOGS, but you mean DOG. GODS. Do you mean DOGS? GODS. DOGS. Of course not, don't be silly. This is no time for ridiculous word games. You're standing just above the rock of the gods now. Take a good look at that monument. Monument? Yeah, there's like a rock buried. Rock of the Gods, Temsek Park. The Rock of the Gods? The rock is buried in the ground right there. It's been there these 10 years. Ever since that day, it flew down from the heavens and showed us a miracle. A miracle? So this rock you've been talking about, is it a meteorite? Precisely. It dropped from the sky on that day 10 years ago. Yes, of course. Surely you know all about it. Me? That day, I just happened to be passing through this park. I had no idea that day would change my destiny. The sun was going down, and through the gloom, I heard the scream of a little girl. Eek! Now just calm down and drop that weapon. Stay back. If you come any closer, I'll shoot her. Peeked out fearfully from the bushes, saw some shadowy figures. I didn't see the face of the criminal clearly. I knew I should do something to help, but I couldn't move. The tension was so thick it was painful just when I couldn't stand it any longer. That's when it happened. The sky suddenly burned bluish white. When it crashed into the ground, the meteor gave off a shower of beautiful fragments. And then I saw it, one of those beautiful fragments, pierced into the criminal's back. Judgment of the gods was brought down on the park that day. "10 years ago, the little girl that was you was saved by the Rock of the Gods. My, I can't believe it. The Rock of the Gods was given the name Temsik. Wait a second. Temsik? Kismet? Starting to make sense," he said, making sure he has his, oh. Kismet. Yep. Still today, it lies sleeping deep in the park's earth. I never knew about this Temsek. I always thought Detective Jowd was the one who saved me. You were very young then. You passed out from the shock of being taken hostage. Of course you wouldn't remember. Well, that's funny. A huge incident like that should have caused quite a stir. Strange you never heard of it, Lynn. It is, isn't it? But now that I think about it, I remember I didn't want to think about what happened. I avoided the news, and I never came back to this park again. That's why I didn't know anything about it. The meteorite was named Temsik after the name of this park it fell in. And then the Rock of the Gods was forgotten. Now awful things happening. They're talking about turning this park into a housing site. I'll never forget the miracle I witnessed that day. So I've taken up residence in this park, and I'm trying to appeal to the people. Protect the park, the Rock of the Gods. That is my mission. I see. Taking with you, with me, Missile. So 10 years ago, the little girl that was Lynn wasn't aware of the meteorite. Get that. Detective Jowd, on the other hand, there's no way he didn't know about this Temsik thing. If he knew, man died, I took his life. What was that confession of his all about? The Rock of the Gods that fell from the sky 10 years ago changed the destinies of many people's lives, like ripples on a pond when a pebble's dropped in. With every answer I get, I learn about a new mystery. Will I be able to break the chain of mysteries before dawn? Right. Another BRB. Anyway, now that we have evidence, the evidence we need, decided to meet again at the minister's office. Besides, there are a few things I want to ask Detective Jowd. You found the music box, Detective Jowd. Good job, Luke. I knew you would. Once everything has been resolved, I had wanted you to give this to him. Him? You mean Inspector Cabanela, right? I don't suppose he'll ever forgive me. Detective Jowd, now then, let's get this thing over. There's a certain knack to doing it, you know. See? He calls that a knack. Looks more like brute strength to me. Here you are. You should find scorch marks on the grip. Scorch marks? While Camilla built her contraption, she used a special kind of string. It's a kind magicians use. It burns up in an instant and disappears. Why would little Camilla use something like that? I don't know. Maybe because she's a detective's daughter, not leaving any evidence behind and all that. In that case, in the case report, there was no mention of some scorch marks. When it happened, when it when it happened, Camilla was watching from her hiding place. She saw the flame run to the gun, something she naturally didn't include in her design. I took the flame out of the gun, out of the frame, and replaced it with a picture. If you remove the picture, you should find scorch marks behind it on the frame too. Those marks should match up with the ones on the gun. In other words, it proves the contraption existed there in that room that day. And it didn't work the way your little girl intended. Is that right? Exactly. Exactly. Some cowardly culprit modified the design. But that angle was never brought up in court. So, as Justice Minister, I must call off the execution at this point. I knew I was right. It wasn't Detective Child. No, now we can finally prove that. Thank goodness. Thank you, Lynn. And those eyes of yours. I see the girl. See the eyes of that little girl from 10 years ago. Probably end stream soon. It's a pretty good stopping point, and I'll pick it up later. Night. Thank you, Dragon Artist 3, for watching. Maybe I'll catch you later tonight. For now, bye bye!